Hi, and welcome to Beer Grilled Skinny, or welcome back if you're rejoining us. Today we're going to talk about what caused us to embrace the random. And it starts with me losing a beautiful stuffed animal that my grandmother made for me called Rat.
I don't know if it was beautiful, but you loved it.
It was beautiful.
Okay.
It was beautiful.
All
What are you
right.
talking about? I loved Rat. We were on our way from Tulsa to Georgia because my father decided to cheat on my mother, and she decided to leave him. So we went all the way to Georgia.
Oh, let me break in here.
Okay.
No, what had happened, he had already left to be with that woman.
Oh, he left you to be with another woman?
Yes. And so then I didn't want the responsibility of trying to take care of the house and everything else and raise you. And I thought I could do it easier if I was home.
Okay, so you took me to Georgia, and on the way there, I dropped my beloved stuffed animal named Rat out the window. And
yeah, you were holding on to it by its tail, and it separated from the tail.
I was 18 months old, and yet this is my memory. I actually remember it. I was so devastated.
Oh,
and
you were.
Mom was like, okay, Granny is in Georgia. Rat will find us in Georgia. So you don't worry. Because I was like, we have to turn around and get to Rat. And you were like, no, Rat will meet us there. And then we pulled over. This part I don't remember. Mom just told me about it. We pulled over, and she called her mother and said, because to be clear, my grandmother made Rat. It was just a stuffed animal. And Mom called her up and said, you have to make another Rat. It has to be ready when we get there. And she did it.
Yes, she did.
She had it ready. Here's Rat.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to Atlanta. My brother was living with his girlfriend, who later became his wife, and he had not let go of his apartment yet for appearance's sake. So he let us stay there until we could kind of I could get an idea.
Stop. Explain what appearance's sake means, because we're now in the 21st century, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, appearances they were boyfriend-girlfriend, not involved in a sexual relationship.
Okay.
And he was involved with a sexual relationship with her, and so he was just keeping his apartment so people, he didn't want to give her address out as to where he was. He let me stay there.
In his address?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do.
How are you feeling?
Broken.
How did you find out?
Find out what? He told me.
So he found another woman, left you.
Yeah.
Went to be with this woman.
And he even bought me a car. That's when I got the Mustang.
Okay, so then your father says, go fix it or end it.
Yeah.
So you went back to fix it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you went back to end it, and then the lawyer said you should just fix it.
No, I didn't want to end it. It looked like that was my only option because I didn't know anything about, what he was into with this woman. We still had the house. I got a taxi, went to the house, and I called him to let him know I was there. And he came immediately, and his assumption was immediate that we would sleep together.
That's his first thing? You came home and he wanted to have sex with you?
He didn't want me to stay in the extra bedroom. And I gave in. He looked like a movie star. I wasn't that stupid. So I did.
You're not stupid at all, but it doesn't matter what a guy looks like when he does that to you.
So we went.
I mean, my husband's ex was not ugly.
Okay. We went to a lawyer because I knew we had to finalize something. And so we told the story to the lawyer, and he looked at both of us, and he said, y'all don't need a divorce. You need to work this out. And Jim was actually glad. He wanted to work it out, and so...
Well, of course course he did. I would like to have you as my wife, raising my daughter, and then I'll have a side piece here and there.
Well, yeah, the side piece. There was this thing that people.
Because he did this more than once.
Yeah, some men would say it's okay to have a little strange on the side. He had friends who would say that.
Well, I was already born, and of course the first thing he did was have a vasectomy.
Yeah.
Thus, he could have a side piece without having to worry about having another kid.
Yes.
I know, this is dark, guys, but we're just talking about our memories, and this is what happened.
And so he decided with me that we would go to Georgia. We would leave Tulsa and go to Georgia and start anew. But we had not been there for very long, and he already knew the statistics of how the second time around usually did not make it. And I could hear what he was saying, and I knew, and I decided then I needed a job. I needed to know how to take care of myself. And if we could work it out, that would be great. But when you're going into something having doubts about it, then you weigh, what are the chances?
I'm imagining, okay, so obviously I don't have all the memories because they're not mine, but I'm imagining, I've always imagined that your experience with rum and coke was in the kitchen on Kirksford Drive in Georgia. Is that where that happened, or did that happen in Tulsa?
That happened in Georgia.
Okay, so you wanted to make this marriage work.
He wanted me to know how to drink, to be to drink alcohol. And that was really against my upbringing because my mom had had troubles with my dad on the alcohol, so...
Yeah, let's be clear on that. Your dad killed someone while being drunk.
Yeah.
Driving down the road.
Yeah.
He's very lucky that he got out of it.
Yeah.
I say he's lucky. He's gone now. He has passed.
Well, the other guy had been drinking too, so he was staggering walking on the highway, so it was both of them.
I'm sorry. I can stop when someone is staggering on the highway because that's how driving works.
Yes. So, yeah.
And so, was that when she poured all the alcohol down the drain, or was it later?
No, he brought alcohol in the house again. I know it just cost us $1,000 for a bond, which today I think would be $20,000.
Something like that.
Yeah.
This was in the 50s, y'all.
Yeah. She poured it down the drain, and he knew at that moment he had to make a choice between alcohol or mom, and he chose mom.
I'm pretty sure she told him he had to make a choice.
Maybe so, but, she was important enough to him to make it work. They had, I think, a good marriage. It was kind of bumpy.
Every marriage is bumpy.
Yeah.
Your marriage was so bumpy that it ended.
Yeah.
I will never forget when you took me up to Granny's. We lived in Georgia at the time, and she lived in... She lived about 100 miles. We lived on a suburb of Atlanta, and she lived about 100 miles away. And Mom took me up there. And I was 8 years old, or maybe 7. I'm not sure exactly, but somewhere around there. And I remember sitting there realizing something terrible was going on. And I called you and said, I want you to come and get me. I was so upset. And you came and got me. And then when we got to the house, he opened the door to look at us as we were getting out of the car. It's a very vivid memory. And I instantly knew your marriage was ending.
Interesting.
It was devastating. And then we go inside, and the two of you sit me down to tell me how the marriage is ending.
No, it wasn't ending yet.
No, it 100% was.
It didn't end until Dad died.
But he was leaving you.
Okay.
And you told me the marriage was ending.
So you were 8. Somehow I had it in my head that you were 10. But yes, 8 is right. 1978. Yeah, okay. And we told you the marriage was ending.
Yes, he told me.
Okay.
You sat there crying. He cried too, actually. It was weird.
It was. But here's what, part of what had happened was I was a strong Christian and he had given up the Christian faith.
Ironically, because he went to Oral Roberts University and had some teacher that was an atheist.
Yeah.
Oh, if y'all don't know who Oral Roberts was, he was this big preacher that was all about the Christianity.
Yeah.
And so he started a university, and then my dad goes to said university, and that's where he loses his faith. very, very, very strange.
Yeah. I can understand it now, but I hadn't lost my faith. I remember after he left, and I was doing everything I could to still, in hopes, make the marriage work. The church I was going to it basically because it had been his roots.
Okay, so what she means by his roots is Pentecostal,
Yeah.
where there's lots of dancing and
Yeah.
rolling around in the aisles and throwing your hands up in the air and having all this emotion.
Yeah. I talked him into I talked him into coming to your baptism, which he did. And then, that might have been the last time he and I really had any. No, we had discussions once you got into school and I was living in south of Atlanta.
Well, exactly. This brings up the whole thing of people were bullying me,
Yeah.
including teachers. And a teacher, okay, we had this stupid thing back then. I don't know if they have it anymore, but it was called the gifted program. And that's where you put the high IQ students. I don't know. I don't remember why this woman didn't like me. I think it's because I can tend to be,
You were smarter than she was.
and I make comments that
Yeah.
they aren't prepared to respond to. And she decided I needed to be kicked out of the gifted program.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad came over there and let her know I was not going to be kicked out. If I
Yeah.
wanted to leave the gifted program, that would be my choice. But it
Yeah.
was not going to be her choice.
Yeah.
He took her down.
Yeah, he did. And again, we were living at a time when we just absolutely didn't have a clue what to do with a gifted child. I can look back and see so many things, so many decisions I could have made, didn't make because I couldn't afford it, any number of things. But yeah, you could out-argue a president if you needed to.
I am pretty good at debate.
Yeah. And you stick to the truth as you know it. You don't even have to try to finagle some kind of a reason of, oh, I'll just use this reason. I don't believe in it, but I'll use this reason. You're
Exactly.
not like that.
I always go with what I believe
Yeah.
in after studying a subject.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I do with my husband. He'll have a perspective, and I will do some research, and I'll have a perspective, and then the two of us will drive each other insane and exhaust ourselves taking a point of view, but then we come to a consensus.
Yeah.
We always come to a consensus. Yeah. One of the things that strikes me is the fact that my dad has a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. But I will never forget when I was at Granny's and you had brought me from Tulsa, and then you left, and then the two of you showed up, and I literally remember, I think I was 18 months, and I was like running out the door when you two showed up, and he swooped me up in his arms.
Yeah.
He absolutely loved me. He has a lot of issues.
He does.
But he wanted me from the get-go. And
yes,
by wanted, I mean he wanted a daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what he got. And he did his best. His best just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. He wanted the name Lori in your name because that was some woman in...
It was a mermaid in the Superman comic books.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
And my best friend was Anne, so I wanted that to be part of it. It was Lori Ann, and then on the Marie part, there was a woman that I liked who was renting Dad and Mom's property in Virginia, and that was her name. So that was how we came up with your name.
And somehow...
No family, anything
that has
in there.
made a lot of people think I'm Catholic.
Well,
which is why I dropped the middle name when I changed my name.
Okay.
Oh, and what did I mention that we're embracing the random here? We just talk about stuff.
Yes, we do. While we enjoy our vodka. Mm-hmm. So since we're talking about embracing the random, which is my whole life just about, I have worked in 30-plus jobs, and I can look at all of them and see the story, and I can see why I worked those jobs, because having been a woman born in 1945, I had to learn how to maneuver as far as what happens with women. So I think about and embracing the random when you and I came back No, when we settled in Atlanta, I left Mom and Dad's to settle in Atlanta, and I got my job at the hospital because Steve helped me do that. Then we began to move up a little bit. We had an apartment. I took my wedding ring and engagement ring, and I pawned it.
Hold on a minute. We were back at when I was 18 months old.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Let's fast forward to when I was 8.
Yes, and the marriage finally broke completely. And even though...
I mean, I remember times when he was out doing whatever. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But you would hold me in your arms and we would dance to the classical music.
That was because he wanted to go do something, and if I couldn't find a babysitter, then he was going to go do something without me.
I don't really care why.
Yeah.
That was just a sign of the marriage breaking.
Yes,
and
it was.
You tried to make me happy anyway.
Yes. And you definitely were. We had a great time.
It's not hard to make me happy.
Those are fabulous memories. I got the better part of the deal.
Yeah, so did I, by the way.
Yeah, you did.
We won't even
Glad you appreciate that.
to the part where he decided I looked like you, and
yeah.
that just won't go there.
And desire came into his heart for his only daughter. Ooh,
Okay, I guess we are going to get into that part.
Maybe we won't. Anyhow, because...
We're hinting, y'all, but you know what we mean.
Yeah. So I decided that I had to make a living for us. I got that little paltry amount of child support and was too stupid to push for anything else.
Okay, let's be honest. You weren't stupid. You just didn't believe that it was going to end, and you had made all these vows, and you naively thought you just wouldn't take extra money.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I didn't want to.
But you'd be getting that money to this day because child support only lasts until the child is 18. But alimony lasts forever unless you remarry, which my mother did not.
And I didn't plan to. I figured, why try this again? I wanted to put an explicative in there, but
that's actually not true. The reason you didn't remarry is because you thought you were going to send the man to hell because of what we were taught in the Bible, that a divorced woman, if she gets together with another man, is going to send him to hell. And we stupidly, back at the time, took the Bible literally instead of taking it in cultural context. So I understand why you didn't get remarried, also because you just weren't good at dating. You have the worst taste in men.
No, I don't.
Ever.
I really.
You really do.
I don't think I felt like I could meet a man who would be what I wanted him to be. And you finding your husband lets me know, well, if I had been looking, I might would have found the right one.
Okay, first of all, he found me.
Well, that's true.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Because I was just randomly hanging out on an astronomy forum, looking at what was going on in the universe and making comments because there were a lot of people on there that didn't believe we landed on the moon, and so I argued with them a lot, and something about that attracted my husband's attention. The very first thing he ever wrote to me was, "There's no such thing as Mr. Right. There's just Mr. Right for you." And then I ignored him and went on my merry way. I went to another forum. He changed his name on, you know how you all have a nickname? He changed his name to go over there and stalk me. But it was only online. It was basically, he was like a fisherman. He had the hook and the line and the sinker. And he got me within 2 months, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I fell in love. And I've never looked back.
How many miles away that you fell in love?
He was all the way in Australia, and I was in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, this is not going to work. You're too far away. He's like, it's the jet age. By the same token, he thought he couldn't come to the U.S. And I said, well, if you really want me, you will. And he did. And now we've been together 20 years.
Yes, he did. He's so fabulous.
He really is.
Lordy, lordy. So anyhow, no, I didn't really explore bringing another man to help me raise you. That just didn't seem right. And yeah, I didn't date particularly the kind of men that I would have wanted, so I wouldn't have wanted them to have influence over you. I did meet some men. I realize now there were a lot of men interested in me, but that just sort of went over my head. I didn't realize what I had to offer. I probably could have made a good deal, but that's not how you establish a good relationship.
Exactly. You were interested in love just
Yeah.
as I was.
Yeah. And
It's kind of like Pride and Prejudice, circling around back to that conversation.
Yeah.
Where you want to marry for love and not money.
Yeah. And I really was really into Christianity, and I took it seriously. I read the whole Bible through twice, and I couldn't find anything that said it would be all right for me to marry again. And I'm like, how could I raise you to follow the Bible if I couldn't even follow it myself? So that was the direction I went.
And
now I'm
in
too
our
old to
next
find somebody.
episode, perhaps we will talk about the threats you made against me when I was reading romance novels.
Maybe so.
Please tune in again. In the meantime, feel free to comment. We'd love to get your feedback. You might not even know how to respond to our weird stories, but we would be totally interested in what kind of relationships you've navigated, where you've been in your life, and
if we have anything in common.
Exactly.
Would love to know if someone out there had something in common with my story.
And we haven't even gotten into the depth of your story.
I know.
But we will. Thank you so much if you've tuned in this long. We will see you again on the next episode. Have a great week.
In every moment together, we conquer our fears, with dreams in our hearts and the world in our sight. We're beer grill skinny, ready